Hi, I'm Mir and this is Iraq. And in this raw video, I'll be talking about the reality of running an online business from a third world country. So just a little bit about myself. I run an online business in which I help online service providers and consultants along with other online businesses to produce strategic video content that attract their ideal clients. And I obviously do that and operate that business from Iraq while working with clients worldwide. So that's about it about myself for this video. Now about Iraq and the country that I currently reside in. Basically, there's a lot to talk about, honestly, about this country. And I don't want to go into too much details in this video because there's not enough time and that's not the main topic of this video. Just let me know in the comments if you want me to dedicate a separate video talking about the situation in Iraq in my point of view. But just a little bit background about it. Iraq is one of the main countries in the Middle East and it's in the center of it all. So whatever takes place, whatever conflicts or wars has been around, it affects Iraq and its people. And this country, just to put it mildly, has been through a lot. And the people in here, we've been through a lot of wars, conflicts, authoritarian rules, invasions, and everything, you name it, especially in the past 5 decades. But the point of this video is not to be gloomy or discourage anyone. No, it's the exact opposite of that. In this video, I'll talk about the reality of running an online business here, which is my story. And you can resonate with the difficulties and obstacles that I'll be mentioning in your own way. So think of your own difficulties that come in your way while trying to pursue your own sets of goals in your life. And I want you to see that the only way is for you to continue trying and putting in the effort. So I'm trying to inspire with this video and not the other way around. Now, when you try to operate a business in Iraq, the first and biggest obstacle that will come your way is when it comes to payments. Because they say that you sell a great product online or you provide a great service and you fulfill on your service as you should. And it's time for you to receive your payments. Well, it's almost sure that you won't easily receive any payments, especially internationally. Because the situation here is that Iraq can't accept, and Iraqis and people residing in Iraq can't accept international payments. That's due to sanctions and policies that have been enforced on the country. And that's unfortunate, obviously, but it is what it is. So you have to adapt, just like I have. But when you're starting out, it will be a lot of headache just to start coming up with a system that will allow your customers or clients to send you your payments. The reason is that international bank transfers are not supported. Also, when it comes to money processors and fintech services, financial technology services such as PayPal and Stripe, we don't use those legally and legitimately. You can't access them as an Iraqi citizen. Now, there are roundabout ways to do that, which I really don't recommend anyone doing. Because when you're doing that, you're basically risking a lot. It's your bread and butter at the end of the day, your online business. And you can't just go to a company that says that they allow you to access PayPal accounts and give them all your information and depend on them for your online business. So that's the main way that people start using, unfortunately. Not just that, also platforms and online websites that allow people to basically sell their services or digital products such as WAP, Stan, Gumroad, and others. Those two can be used within Iraq because remember, those websites depend on money processors such as PayPal, which you can't access as an Iraqi, unfortunately. So you can't even benefit from those websites and services as well. And there are lots more, such as Mercury and even Wise, formerly known as TransferWise, and all of these are online banking, money processors, and fintech services that are used worldwide. But as an Iraqi, you can't access them. So it will be a huge headache to get the funds that you make from your online business to reach you locally. And even when you do, you might not be able to withdraw it, which I have a personal story about that, in which I sold my services online and I fulfilled them, and I got paid on the third-party website, which I was working on back then. I'm talking about 4 to 5 years ago now, because back then I was only providing video editing services. And the funds stayed on the website, and I couldn't basically withdraw it until I tried, and there was a 3-week period for me to able to withdraw the funds to my local bank account. And when I actually tried to do that, instead of getting the funds into my account, I got an email, and the email said that your funds have been frozen due to suspicions of money laundering and funding terrorism. Straight up. So that's the situation that you'll be encountering if you're trying to pursue an online business in a third world country. And that's the main obstacle that you will have to overcome some way. Now, that's not about it. There are lots more things to think of when trying to do that. And the number 2 thing that you will come across is that most of the people here are trying to flee the country because they're thinking, what will I be building? How can I build a sustainable business or a sustainable family, for example, here? So the first thing that they do, especially if they are capable people, experienced people, genius people, the first thing that they think about is to leave the country and build their online business elsewhere, in the US, in EU, in Britain, or even in developed countries in the East, such as Singapore. And that's very unfortunate, honestly, because when someone makes it and they have their resources and they're adaptable people, resourceful people who could benefit the country, the first thing that they do is to go abroad and continue building there, which makes it really difficult for you to find people locally who are pursuing the same thing that you're doing, because they give up on the local way of doing it very early on, and they just basically leave the country and build elsewhere. And the reason for that is the unstable condition. Wars erupting every couple of months or years sometimes, if we're lucky enough, out of the blue. And you can't set your mind to start building locally because you don't know. You might need to leave at any moment, or your business might collapse. And in case you have come up with some ways to receive your funds that you make online, those too might get banned, and the sanctions could prevent those from taking place as well. And that's a huge, unfortunate thing, but you will have to get through it, just like the other obstacles. Now, another one that I want to mention is a 2-sided coin. The first side that I want to talk about is the local one. Basically, when you're trying to pursue an online career, online business, providing services or selling digital products online, whatever it is that you're doing online, the thing is that people locally won't get you. No one gets you, and they don't resonate with what you're doing. Why is that? Well, in my case, in Iraq, the normal thing here is to work in the public sector. We're talking in 2025. The normal thing is to work for the government. And if you aren't working for the government and you're working at the private sector for a company, a 9 to 5, a normal 9 to 5, that's even considered risky, because people will be thinking, what will you do for your retirement, given that you're not working in the public sector? But even if you're working in the private sector, you're still better off than working online in the people's perception, unless that you have a physical store that you're selling something that they can see, and then they get what you're doing. But if you're doing an online business, people won't get you locally. They will just know that you're unemployed, and they can't get their minds to what the hell is it that you're doing. That's why a lot of people who work for the government in the public sector tell online business owners making their year's salary in a month to get a real job. And I think that this one you resonate with wherever you are in the world operating an online business. Because when you're starting off, nothing is clear to anyone. You are the only one who knows what is it that you're trying to pursue. And you'll have to prove it with material evidence that it works. But up until then, especially in third world countries and developing countries, no one gets you, and you will have to fight alone. But what are you gonna do? You will have to keep fighting. And I hope that you do that. Now, the other side of this coin is that not just local people are not getting what you're doing, but also internationally, there's a disconnect with the people in developing countries. There are multiple reasons for that. One main reason, which is very evident, is that the lifestyle that people lead in developing countries is way different than the ones that they lead in developed countries. So if an online business owner makes it in a developed country, the first thing that they think of is to basically buy supercars and live in a villa and mansion and go on yachts and whatever. But like I'm talking about developing countries, and especially Eastern countries, we don't do that. Because think about it, like if an online business owner from abroad asks someone in here who's making good fortune working online, and he gets asked, what color is your Bugatti, as they do in the West, his first answer would be, mate, if I had enough for a Bugatti, I would have used the funds to help the orphans that are being made orphan every single year in my country, or to help sustain my family, or to help the poor locally, which are millions. So there's a huge shift in the mindset between people living in developing countries and developed countries, and you will have to deal with that. You will have to deal with that and basically find a way to resonate with the international community. And not just that, there's a perception by the international community and people worldwide in developed countries especially, there's a perception, a negative perception of the people in such countries, be it Iraq, Nigeria, Afghanistan, whatever it is. And the perception is that we're all basically either scamming people, or we can't provide services or make products up to a good standard. And that's really frustrating, because usually, as you can see, the amount of effort that people put in these countries is way more than the amount of effort that you have to put in being born in the likes of US, UK, or any country in the EU, honestly. But then there's that negative perception that you will have to find some way to encounter. So those are a few obstacles and hardships. Now, obviously, there's the other part that you probably thought of, which is the fact that the services are not up to standard in these countries. And I'm talking about the electrical power supply, basically the power grid. Of course, there are a lot of power shutdowns in my country and elsewhere. There are worse situations. So I have many stories. Like I've been on video calls with clients, and all of a sudden there's a power shutdown and there's a very awkward situation that you will have to deal with. But that's the one of the minor ways that you'll have to deal with that. I had my CPU being corrupted due to continuous power supply cuts and shutdowns, and you'll have to deal with those stuff. You'll have to replace your devices, maintain them. And also, it's not only about the electricity, it's also about the internet power supply, which gets disconnected and cut off due to certain policies from time to time. And you will sometimes be just offline. There's no connection and there's no electricity. You can't communicate. And that's really difficult, especially if your business is online. But you will have to find ways to deal with those as well. Obviously, just to be totally honest with you, the electricity, the internet connectivity, and everything in that realm has been improved, has improved a lot from how it used to be when I was starting out. And it's getting better and better. And I hope that the other factors get better as well. Now, just like I mentioned before, the goal of this video is not just to list these. So the main goal is that whatever it is that you're trying to pursue, there will be obstacles, difficulties, hurdles, hardships, limitations, or whatever. But when you think about it, we all have those. Now, I told you about some of the ones that I have dealt with, and definitely not all of them. But you might have your own sets of difficulties that you'll have to deal with when you're trying to achieve whatever it is, the goal that you're trying to achieve. And that's why I want to send 3 messages for 3 different people right now. The first message that I have is for someone who's operating in such conditions and pursuing an online business from a developing country. And I want to tell you that the difficulties that you're facing, the obstacles that you'll have to deal with, aren't necessarily your limits. They are your training grounds. And they're the things that help you become your better self who can deal with them. A more powerful, a more resourceful, a more adaptable person who can deal with those. That's where you are heading due to those hardships that you'll have to face. So whatever it is that you do, don't stop and keep fighting. And my second message is for people, online businesses worldwide, wherever it is that you're based, who get to work with people from these countries. Now, obviously, I wouldn't recommend that you work with people who are not up to your standards, who will slow your business down. Don't work with any people like that. But if you find good people who are great at whatever it is that they do, and you want to employ them or hire them or work with them, and they happen to be from such situations and these countries, and they haven't made it yet, obviously, I would really recommend you to be just a little bit more patient, because you might not know what they're going through. Just to be punctual and on time in your meetings and to deliver their services and to provide the products that you demand them from them. But be sure that they have put in 200% of their effort just to do that. And my last message is probably for you, someone in a little bit better situations, based or living in a country, and you don't have to deal with such hardships or difficulties. And you have a goal that you have set in your mind, a desire that you want to achieve for a while, but you also have a certain thing to do, a task that you've been postponing, a certain action that you've been delaying for a long time now, and you try not to think about it. So my question for you is, what the hell is your excuse?